I was there since kind of birth. Always grew up in like that Durham region area outside of Toronto. And I moved at the age of 10 years old, about 10 minutes down the road. And that small move, I was completely culture shocked by hockey. Every time I went to hockey, like it was something I consistently noticed where people, they couldn't afford hockey as a whole, and they couldn't afford the equipment. I saw people reusing sticks, taping up broken sticks just to kind of get by. Yeah, that was kind of the start of it. Like we went on, we had what the producers say one of the best episodes of all time. We had no cuts. They said we were the first episode where they didn't stop us in between. Like exactly how it was seen on TV was exactly how it happened.
Welcome to Next Door Narratives. This is a podcast series dedicated to discovering the remarkable business stories happening beyond Arizona's borders. Each episode takes you next door, and sometimes far beyond, to meet entrepreneurs shaping their communities in unexpected ways. This is Next Door Narratives, presented by Finding Arizona Podcast. Business stories from beyond our backyard.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. But more importantly, this is Next Door Narratives, the show where we step outside the Grand Canyon State to bring you stories from extraordinary people and that are building extraordinary things across North America and more. The goal is simple. Great stories have no borders, and the more of them we tell, the more eyes we bring back to the spirit of what we're building here in Arizona. I'm your host, Jose. Today's guest is someone I had a pleasure of meeting at the Forbes 30 Under 30 Summit right here in Phoenix. Zachariah Thomas is the founder and the CEO of Swift Hockey. And if you don't know that name yet, you will soon. He is a 23-year-old retired minor pro hockey player from Oshawa, Ontario, who was named at the Forbes 30 Under 30s list for 2026. Putting him in the same list as Austin Matthews, Josh Allen, Victor Wembanyama, Juan Soto, and more. Let that sink in for a second. But here's what makes Zachariah's story one for entrepreneurs in the room. He launched Swift Hockey with the mission to make high-performance equipment more accessible to players and families. Inspired by growing up in small towns where young athletes could not afford premium gear, he looked at one of the most traditional gatekeep industries in sports and decided to challenge it without venture capital. Swift has grown in leaps and bounds, and so has the company as it has grown, become a supplier for professional women's hockey league. His entrepreneurial journey has been featured on Dragon's Den, where he has secured 3 investment offers. And now, in true disruptor fashion, Swift is expanding into the pickleball area, and where Zachariah sees the exact same problem he wants to solve in hockey. To many outpriced products are not enough value. This is a story about access, identity, resilience, and what happens when a kid from Oshawa refuses to accept that sport has a price of admission. Zachariah, welcome to Next Door Narratives. Thank you for joining us.
I'm super happy to be here. How you doing?
I was going through your history, and your growing up is similar to my own. We were both culture shocked in moving from one place to another. Yours in a different fashion than mine, but I would love our audience to understand your journey. Can you give us a little bit of your origin story?
Yeah. So, I grew up in a small town about an hour away from Toronto. And you know what? I moved there I was there since kind of birth. Always grew up in like that Durham region area outside of Toronto. And I moved at the age of 10 years old, about 10 minutes down the road. And that small move, I was completely culture shocked by hockey. And that was kind of my start of everything, where I was forced in a situation where I had to make friends. I had to join a new school at the age of 10 years old, when that's typically like a little bit of an eight, like it's a little bit late to do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like to redo friends that already kind of have their crew and things like that. And I was culture shocked by hockey, and hockey was the only thing that I was able to fit in.
Yeah.
That was something I was able to play at recess and do with my schoolmates.
Man, I'll admit. So when I met you, we were discussing that kind of that culture shock and just being able to also going into how the pricing of admission for certain sports. So I think explained to you, I grew up on a Native American tribe, and on the reservation, we weren't in, at all with anything sports wise, was you bare minimum. And so I grew up actually a little bit in a larger city and then moved into that culture. And that was a culture shock for me, because growing up with facilities and places that you can go to and then being limited even further going backwards. And so that was something that was like, holy moly, like I didn't wrap my head around that kind of stuff. So, and especially so my move was when I was 12, and that price of admission to friendships and like people already gathered and kind of in their own cliques and stuff like that was definitely what was going on in my life at that time. So that's what I meant by us sharing those similar backgrounds. So one of the things that we also kind of talked about is that your relationship with hockey. When did you first feel like the cost of the sport was the problem worth solving?
Yeah. So you know what? I noticed it at a very young age, and I find it really weird to like look back on it and how early I noticed it. When I was growing up, I grew up in the middle of the city called Oshawa, and we were home of the biggest car manufacturer in North America at the time, the GM plant. And that GM plant ended up closing down while I was still in elementary school, and I could feel it. Like I was only like 10, 11 years old, and I could really see the difference and the shift as well. And every time I went to hockey, like it was something I consistently noticed, where people, they couldn't afford hockey as a whole, and they couldn't afford the equipment. I saw people reusing sticks, taping up broken sticks just to kind of get by.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what I grew up in. And when I kept growing up, I ended up doing whatever I could to give back to that side of what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible, that because again, I look at my own growing up and just how much. So for the res kids, two things. One was basketball, and the other was running. Essentially, just getting out and doing long distance running or track. And so one of the things that I really enjoyed about, growing up on that culture, and especially for basketball, there was a subculture of like style of play. So fast-paced style of play for natives is res ball, and it's really fast, high pace. It's constantly moving. It's a little bit where it's like the intensity is just really what I felt like was what I thought hockey might feel like, because I had seen hockey because I grew up a little bit on the East Coast, and I had witnessed it with the Flyers and some of the other sports like New Jersey Devils and stuff like that. So I was like, this is what I would associate as like the movement, like the patterns of like the constantly moving. So I really was intrigued by that. So that was something. And then the running was really just in itself, like the amount of kids that were there, just the culture of it, just doing it all the time was really, really great. So I want to move into that. You started Swift Hockey at 19. Most people at that age are still figuring out what they want to do. You already were flying to China with slide decks and a mission in your hand. So where did you find that confidence from? And honestly, what was going through your head at that time?
Yeah, you know what? It was Swift hockey was something I always wanted to do, but I never knew how to get it out, if that makes any sense. Like even if I'm looking back on my early days, like I was giving away what I like my sporting store discount.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I used to work at a big sporting store called Sport Check.
Yeah.
Canadian Tire is probably the more familiar one.
Yeah.
But so I used to give away my discount to all my teammates, all my schoolmates, and that was kind of my way of helping my teammates actually play hockey, do well at sports, and kind of have that discount as well, and even help my parents and my family at the same time. Yeah. And I never knew that there was a scenario where business could become an action, like to do this, especially looking at the industry and knowing the industry my whole career, where I know we're going against some of these guys that's been in the industry. So these giants is what we would say. these company giants that's been in the industry for 10, 15, 100 years at this point. So that's kind of what we were going up against. And it was always a thing for me where COVID hit and I was kind of lost, is the best way to put it. Like I had no school, I had no schedule, I had no hockey. And I turned all of my focus into business and learning as much as I possibly can. And that was kind of the start from there.
I love that. I mean, it speaks to your mindset just being so, you got something and just having to. So as an entrepreneur myself, I'm just trying to figure things out. I'm also a dad, so I'm like really trying to figure things out all at the same time, juggling this kind of like, I've been doing this for quite some time. So I'm helping other people who have just started kind of, get off the ground, hopefully in a better fashion than I did when I started, and just try and help and be of service to those around me, like you did with your friends and your family. I'm trying to do the same thing on that kind of same different platform, but just like really want there to be kind of this overall feeling of like, yeah, if you've got something to say, start a podcast. I want you to feel like you can bring your voice to the table. Like that's always been my thing. And so I share that to kind of go into the challenger brand mindset. You were talking about, you were dominated by some of these other huge market, titans almost, and these brands with decades of loyalty and massive budgets. What was your strategy for getting hockey players and families to trust a brand they've never heard of before?
It's definitely difficult. It was definitely such a difficult thing to get people. Like, as I said, like we're going out against people that have been in the industry, have been doing this for hundreds of years at this point. And it's definitely difficult for us to go and compete day in, day out. And for people to trust us. I think that was like the number one thing. But we have done so much by like, we're almost pretty much direct to consumer is the best way to put it. We do have a little bit of a retail presence, but no other hockey company in the world, for example, or even sporting goods operates this way. It's one of the weirdest ways to operate, because I know in hockey, for example, the one I'm most familiar with is where if, let's say you go break a stick, you have a practice the next day that you need a stick for. Like there's not really a waiting period. So what we're doing is one of the weirdest things that we're able to consistently do well, being online and trying to change the market that way as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I'll be honest. So one of the things I think I mentioned this also in passing when we met, it was like my neighbor's son is in travel hockey. And one of the things that has come, we've been very lucky because we've had this home for a couple of years now, and my son's been born and his son has kind of gone up in a couple of years of age. And so his gear, all that stuff that he doesn't have a sibling or anything. And he saw my son watching from afar. Like my son will watch from across the street as the boy is practicing his shots and practicing his handling. And he just saw my son watch, and he was like, "Hey, do you want some of my smaller gear and like some of my old stuff? I don't need it. I have this stuff just kind of collecting dust." And it was very nice of him. My son just loves it. And so, there is a tradition. I think if you care enough, you can keep these things prolonged. But I do understand the challenge, because I've talked to the father about, he's now in full pads, like hitting and stuff like that. And it's like his first year doing kind of the full contact. And, things break. Things, like that stuff does crack and it deteriorates and it goes by. And so I've had private conversations with him of like, how much are you spending on this stuff? And he's given me a number. I'm not going to tell you, but it's up there. And I feel for him. And I know the challenge of like, yeah, you want to, because the kid is good and he's also so passionate about it. So you see the level of like, your dad wants to encourage that. And I love that for him. And I love that they continue to do so. And kind of, he's going up to, I think 16, 17, and now he's going to continue traveling. And I'm like, this is great. So kudos to him. And I just told him, enjoy the ride, really enjoy the time with, your dad and your family, and have fun doing the hockey thing. So
No, exactly.
I had highlight this in the intro, and it's about Dragon's Den and your three offers. You went into this and walked away with those investments, and walk us through that room. What did you pitch? What was the toughest question that got thrown to you, and what did that moment do for Swift Hockey?
Yeah, you know what? That, I guess, to go back on Dragon's Den a little bit, into my origin story a bit more. That was the first time some of my teammates have even heard me talk was on national TV.
Wow.
Like, I was such a shy kid growing up, and I guess now looking back on it, shy may not be the right word. Like, I only speak when needed. Like, I wasn't like a super outgoing kid. Like, I wasn't screaming at the top of my lungs all day. Like, I could speak when was needed. And Dragon's Den was kind of that first experience where we launched a company 6 months before we went on Dragon's Den.
Wow.
So I started the company, and we got a little bit of traction. We were doing decent in sales within the first 6 months, and we're on Dragon's Den shortly after. Like that was kind of our origin story. So we went on Dragon's Den. We went on back 2023 May, and it was such a crazy experience for us to kind of have that opportunity to go on Dragon's Den. So we walked on Dragon's Den in front of all of the dragons. It looks the exact same as it does on TV. Like, it really felt like I was stepping into TV at that point. And yeah, that was kind of the start of it. Like, we went on, we had what the producers say, one of the best episodes of all time.
Awesome.
We had no cuts. They said we were the first episode where they didn't stop us in between. Like, exactly how it was seen on TV was exactly how it happened. They didn't change my body language. They didn't do anything like that. So that was a really cool thing that I hold with me, especially like being that shy kid, as they say. And then, we ended up taking 3 offers on TV. We ended up accepting one of those. And then about a year later, we didn't hear from the Dragon for a while. And we ended up declining that deal way later on.
Okay, so that leads me into my next question about building this without VC and having grown today in the startup culture is almost a rebellious act. What was the advantage of growing that way without the VC, and what were the moments where you thought maybe I should have taken the money?
Yeah, you know what, that Dragon's Den money, I definitely think it would have been one of the worst decisions of my career to take that. But you know what, bootstrapping a business it's extremely difficult. Probably one of the most difficult things to do in an entrepreneur setting. And I think that's where we've been able to grow and innovate in the best way possible, is by we're able to move faster than everybody. We don't have anybody stopping us. We don't have anything like that. But it's definitely a really difficult thing that we've done, where we really haven't went out there and raised a bunch of capital and tried to just really do something different. Like, we're bootstrapping it and trying to grow the brand as big as possible organically in the best way.
I love that, because again, for my own impact of like being a business guy, I just try my best to, I've always said this to everyone else. It's like, work with what you got so far and just build on that. So if you have minimal, tech or things like that, just keep building on what you have. Be scrappy, be inventive, be intuitive. Like, if someone needs something else and you can easily barter and trade to get the thing that you need, it's like, come on, like, why? We've seen this on movies, we've seen this in television. Like, people do a lot of things to make ends meet, and why not, trust your process, trust yourself, trust your gut feeling that you're gonna do business the right way. And so I really do find stories like this very imperative to the next generation, to younger people who want to go out and try and succeed on their own and step up. So this is incredible for me to have that opportunity to have met you over at the Forbes 30 Under 30. And I wanted to just bring that up again, because our encounter of where we met each other, that puts you next to pro athletes worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and what that recognition actually have done for Swift in a practical sense. And is there anything that surprised you or felt different than what you expected about getting the Forbes list?
Yeah, you know what? Forbes was definitely, growing up, like it was always like you wanted to win a big Stanley Cup. Like that was kind of my thing as a kid. Wanted to win a Stanley Cup. I want to go to the NHL, play my first NHL game. And in entrepreneurship, there's actually there's not too many awards. There's not too many awards. There's not too many accolades to win. And Forbes list was one of those things where as soon as I became an entrepreneur, like that was the big one I wanted to win, and the only one, to be honest. And I was so confident that I was going to get it at one point where it wasn't too big of a shock to me. Like I was so delusional that thought I was going to have it at some point. And that was kind of my biggest thing is where I'm definitely not at some of these levels yet, but I'm surrounded by some of the biggest athletes that do make 100 million a year. Like they're doing really good things to be on Forbes list. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of the thing is with us is that our company and our story of the company is something that is going to hold that ground.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be there soon enough as well. So
yeah, it's incredible that you've built this model where accessibility is the cornerstone. And saying that, I mean, you've said this, that the barrier for a lot of kids isn't talent, it's the price tag attached to participation. That's deeply a human insight, but you also turned it into a profitable business. How do you keep those two things, mission and margin, in balance at Swift scales?
yeah. And you know what? We like going back on it and watching and reading as many books as I possibly can. We picked almost the worst business path to do. Like when we look at the way we're priced as a product, that we're not super low, we're not super high, we're right in the middle. So it always leaves us in that weird ground where it's like, even from consumers' perception, like, are we a premium product or are we a very low, crappy product? Like that's just the perception that we have to nonstop change, is to put ourselves and pair ourselves as best as we can with as premium as we can. So that's obviously been one of the worst things that we have done, but like being that affordable product has meant everything to me. Like that's why we're consistently trying to make an affordable product. We have a new product coming out within the next month or so that will be arguably one of the most affordable hockey sticks in the world. Like that's the product we've been trying to develop over the last little bit. But our goal is like super simple, where we're just trying to make the number one product at an affordable price. Like that's all it is for us. So
I get it. I mean, and it speaks a lot to those kids who truly are thankful for it. Like the accessibility of these products just says it all. I'm going to move forward to the pickleball move. Swift has just entered the pickleball space, which is a bold pivot from hockey. You've said you see the same problem in pickleball that you've seen in hockey: too many overpriced products, not enough value. Is this the pattern you're going to keep chasing across different sports, or what's the playbook here?
yeah, you know what? I'd say pickleball is one of those things where it was something I kept seeing the sport grow. Like the sport of pickleball just kept growing, and it's something that's super accessible. And another aspect behind sports in general and behind hockey, where it was a mental health aspect. I think that was such an important aspect that I don't speak on enough, is sports keep kids out of trouble. And I look at some of my closest friends growing up and where they are now. Some of them are in jail, some of them aren't with us anymore. And if they had sports in their life, they may be in a different situation.
That's amazing.
And that,
No, no, go, please. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's arguably like the number one thing for me is I want to keep kids out of trouble, and pickleball is obviously it's not as close to hockey. It's not the same sport. Like lacrosse is closer. There's so many other sports where they have very similar parallels, but pickleball's one of the most accessible sports in the world right now. And that's why it's growing so fast, is where you're old, you're young, everyone can play it. And I remember we were at a court about 20 minutes from here out in Tampa where we saw this. He was 10 years old and he was just beating up everyone on the court. He's beating everybody. And he was talking so much smack to everybody. He's talking smack to me. He's beating everybody up. And that's kind of what we wanted to, that's what we kind of want to do as a company.
Yeah.
And like grow a sport where everyone's able to play it and get accessible goods at the same time.
It's amazing because again, I've had interviews with some of these other manufacturers of like products for the paddles and stuff like that, and I mean, hearing about it and seeing the growth. I mean, here in Phoenix alone, I think there's been, as a aside, my other gig or my other job would be landscape architecture. And so I was even experiencing that coming out of my first couple of years out of school. We had started experiencing more requests for pickleball, pickleball areas, like more courts identified, and bigger communities wanting them for their parks and for their community areas. And so that was something that I was like intrigued to see step up as a newer sport, in that it kind of attached itself to this family dynamic and to this group where it's like it ranges all ages. So from young to old, it isn't very popular. It's growing, and I see that as someone who wants more accessibility. That's something that would intrigue you, and I can see why that would be important. So I'm going to move to identity and brand storytelling. You've talked about how the brands that will win this decade are the ones telling honest stories about access, identity, and community. Swift was built on your story. A kid from Oshawa with Jamaican roots who's refused to accept that sport had a price for admission. How intentional have you been about keeping that story at the center as the company grows? Because I've heard you like let me say this. I've heard you talk about like not you being a shy guy, and like we've had this kind of encounter. I don't think you're as shy anymore, of course, but I'm like I can definitely attest as someone who has built something and didn't really. My whole thing was like my whole podcast wants to be about others. And I've had a hard time placing myself at the forefront of my own business, but I need to, because I genuinely believe that's like you are the only person who's going to advocate for yourself hardest. There's no one else who's going to fight for you harder than yourself. So if it has to be me, it has to be me, and that's something that I've grown into and kind of accepted more of that identity. But again, I go back to your own journey.
Yeah. You know what? It was always a scenario for me growing up where I never wanted to be the face of the company. Like that was something I didn't want to do. And I never thought we'd be able to grow and with my face as a company as well. And looking back on it, when we were starting and we were bootstrapping this, we didn't have external funding. We couldn't afford a pro player. We couldn't afford an influencer. I was our cheapest option. I was our cheapest and I was the only influencer that we were able to afford at that time. And obviously like the story of our brand has resonated so much with people that I never would have understood that at the beginning. Like I was just trying to make a good product for myself and for other people around me. But the story has resonated with everyone that touches path with it. Even if you're super rich or you're super poor, whatever your financial status is, everyone doesn't want to pay those dollar amounts on sporting equipment.
Yeah.
and they want to see the game grow at the end of the day.
I 100% agree. This is something that again, to me, my whole thing was it's about the storytelling of the entrepreneur. It's them that I'm trying to be a cheerleader for, and I want their brands and their identities to be the kind of collective features that help me like just stand out. I just want to give them a chance to tell their stories because from growing up, that's what I was told. Everyone gets a chance to. You should allow yourself to listen to those around you because those stories are important. And my grandfather, who was an elder in our culture, held a lot of our really important stories, and he loved doing that, and he loved sharing those. I just wanted to take it to the next level, be more myself and more my style, and this is where I ended up. And I really do hope that a lot of people find themselves and appreciate themselves through having this conversation about their own journey. So, that's definitely something that I'm proud of, and definitely one of the things that I've really felt like it's helped me really attest that I am someone who really lives this and is grown up in this, and I really want to push this level of podcasting forward. So here I am, trying to extend that to others and trying to be a cheerleader for everyone. And so I appreciate you giving that kind of transparency about, it's a tough position. It's like you want your business to succeed, but it's like, again, I go back to like no one's gonna shout louder than yourself. So if it has to be you and you have to be the forefront of it, then it has to be you. So I'm gonna move towards what Arizona doesn't know yet. And because I'm a local here, and this is how we met, and so my whole podcast is this. But you're coming to us from Florida via Canada. And we're sending this conversation out to entrepreneurs across the Southwest. What's the thing that you wish more people, especially in the U.S., understood about Swift Hockey, what you're doing with Swift Hockey, and where this company is going next?
Yeah, I think what I want people to know about what we're doing at Swift Hockey is, or Swift Sports as a whole now, is we make such good products. And that's something that we don't talk about enough. We don't glorify our products as much as we should, but we're not just an affordable good. Like our product competes with the top of the top, the best products in the world. And that's what we're going for. And they just happen to be at a good cost. That's it. There's no catch, there's no nothing. And that's kind of what's held back some people from purchasing us, is that they put cost and performance at the same level all the time. And it's like if we go buy a t-shirt from, I know a lot of these manufacturers, I can't say too much, but if we go buy a t-shirt from a very high-end luxury brand versus a very low-end luxury brand, it's the same t-shirt. Mm-hmm. It's the same t-shirt, just different logos.
Oh, I know. So, I know. Yeah. I did screen printing. Yeah, I did screen printing as an in-between job of like, and I was like, I know I've experienced it, buying in bulk t-shirts.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I think that's something that we're going to start to vocalize a little bit more, especially stepping into this next phase of our company, in a sense, like we're really leaning into our brand story and what we're trying to do on the product side as well.
Yeah. I really do appreciate you giving us, like, again, a real sense of how much you are trying hard to really make accessibility, performance, and all of this just kind of like, like you were saying, no fuss, no gotcha, here it is. And that's the best part of it. It's like there is something so great about transparency that it's just like it's a breath of fresh air sometimes. And I really do appreciate that in a business person like yourself, Zachary. I do want to get a little bit personal with you, if you don't mind, just a couple of things. One, are you still, like, I know that you were saying retired, but it's like, do you still get out there? Do you practice? I mean, I know you probably have to product test. Like, what's it like, having, the almost the itch? Do you still have the itch? Like, is it still in you to, like, get up and, like, train and shoot around, all this stuff?
Yeah, you know what? I have no itch. And everyone I explain this to, they find it super weird, but like it still feels like I'm super busy, obviously, with the company, but
Yeah.
it still feels like I'm in the game every day. Like I like the sport. I find entrepreneurship a sport insights. Like it's
that.
very sport oriented, and it doesn't feel like I'm missing anything from going on and shooting pucks and playing hockey, because I'm in a battle every single day. I'm dealing with stuff every single day, and I love that part of it.
Yeah. On the other side of like the entertainment, it's like, so I love Shoresy. I don't know if you know the show. Is it somewhat of a popular thing amongst the hockey culture? Is it even something come up close to what it's really like? Give me a little bit of insight, because I just enjoy the show. I don't know if it reflects very well.
Yeah, hockey on the media side, like it's definitely growing. Like there's been a lot of documentaries coming out, a lot of TV shows coming out. Shoresy is one of the big original ones, I would say. Like that's kind of grown the game and grown interest in that as well. But yeah, it's definitely been the media side of hockey is growing,
Great.
in a good way.
I love that. I am just now, because so it's just, to be honest, like my wife's a bigger hockey person than I am. She's a Blackhawk fan, so it's one thing that she's really trying to push on, not push, but like trying to encourage my son to get involved with. And so with the neighbor, with her, he's very much like noticing more hockey and hockey every day. So we're a hockey household over here, and I appreciate you giving me, again, as someone who is very much in the thick of it, I really do appreciate your time. And meeting you at the Forbes event, and it was incredible. You were on stage, and it was just a delight to kind of witness someone with similar ideologies, where it's like accessibility should be for all. It should be just easy to want to play a sport. Like it shouldn't be there shouldn't be astronomical goalposts that we have to go through to enjoy something like camaraderie or something like a sport. So again, thank you so much, Zachariah. I do kick it off to you to let everyone know where they can find you online, all your social media handles. So the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, a little bit to your point, like you shouldn't have to sell an arm and a leg to play sports.
Yes,
like you shouldn't have
absolutely.
To. And that's kind of been the thing what we're doing with Swift. But yeah, for anyone who's looking to support us, we're Swift on all platforms, Swift Pickleball, Swift Sports, Swift Hockey on all platforms. You can find me personal as Zach Thomas, Zachariah Thomas on all platforms. But yeah, no, it's just super happy to be here.
I really do. Again, I have no doubt that you guys are going to do fantastic. I mean, just the fact that you are at the helm and you have such a strong foundation and a goal set, and just I mean, you have the vision. I mean, going to a new sport and trying to extend this accessibility goal to that sport, and I see these different goals for you, and I can see the vision, and I hope. And I have nothing but best thoughts for you. So kudos to you and the team. Before we go, you can hear every episode of our podcast is findingarizonapodcast.com, but we also have Next Door Narratives, so look out for that under our YouTube page as well. But social media, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. And last but not least, I want to bring this over from our original podcast. It's kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends, and we will see you next time. Bye, y'all.